Hello, and thank you for joining us. Today, we will be speaking with Hassan Hamdam. Hassan is a Baluch poet and literary figure and a longtime activist with the Baluch national struggle. In 2000, he fled Balochistan and received asylum in the United Kingdom. He received his master's degree in human rights and social justice with a focus on international legal norms from London Metropolitan University. Presently, he serves as the vice president of the Baloch Human Rights Council. He's the author of the book entitled The Right to Self-Determination Under International Law and Politics, The Case of the Baloch People, published in 2020 by Trafford Publishing. Hassan, thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Thank you for having me, Connor. Thank you. Appreciate you giving me this opportunity to speak regarding these issues.
It is our pleasure. Uh, to begin, I wanted to ask if you could give us a bit of background about the Baloch people, who they are, some of the key points in their history and in the history of Balochistan, including the process of the division of Balochistan between the two nation states of Iran and Pakistan, as well as the Baloch population in Afghanistan.
Yeah, this is Baloch history has been written on many historian wrote various uh, yeah, the contest in the book and the account of the Baloch history. But it is believed that the Baloch tribe, there was a group of tribes. They moved from the Central Asia towards Thailand, Iran, and some 3,000 years ago. And it's believed they settled down there in the region of uh, Sistan, Balochistan, the present day of Iran, Iranian Balochistan. We call it Western Balochistan. They settled in that region, and they moved further and they came toward the area of eastern Balochistan, which is at present day of Pakistan. And this whole region, the vast area of Balochistan, they settled in the united and their union became a confederacy of Baloch people, and then they formed their own role in the region. In some 17th century, some point they established their rule over this whole region, and then this whole region became the Balochistan, where this mass land, called Balochistan, and these people spoke Baluchi until present day. And then, of course, later, against all odds, they survived until 1839, when the British Empire moved to the region in Indian subcontinent further. And from there, with British, they came to under the British influence in the 18th century. And after that, when British left the Indian subcontinent in 1947, Baloch became a free nation again for a while. But again in 1948, Pakistan, the new created state of Pakistan, which was created out of India, invaded Balochistan in 1948. And since then, it is a part of Pakistan, and the other part of Western Balochistan was earlier invaded by Iranian forces and became part of their influence. So this is the quite a brief and short history of the Baloch people. And since then, the Baloch nation is struggling against these, uh, Iran and Pakistan, and their struggle is going on in Pakistan, especially these times. It's the fifth, I think, armed struggle going on in these days in Pakistan.
Mm. Thank you. And there is also a Baluch population in the in the bit of southern Afghanistan. Could you comment a little bit about the nature of this population and its relationship to the history of the rest of Balochistan?
So yeah, the history of Balochistan. I mean, this is a vast land of Balochistan, which is from the Gulf, Persian Gulf to the Helmand in Afghanistan, and from the Oman, Gulf of Oman to Kandahar. This whole area, the vast area of Balochistan. So this is a historical some area of Balochistan were given and some sort of agreement they had with Afghanistan a long time ago. There are three provinces in Afghanistan where Baluch are. The majority of Baluch live there for a long time, and they are Helmand, Para, and Nimroz, and they are part of Afghan nation, and they are living there, and they are taking part in Afghan politics since I mean, for a long time, and they were part of the Taliban, and they were part of that, and then became again this changes in Afghanistan. They were part of the government, and they are uh, existing within the Afghan community in Afghan society is a part of those Afghan nation, Afghan people. And then this time they are, of course, is the American again left Afghanistan and bring the Taliban, brought the Taliban back to power. They left no option for the other nation, other group of people in Afghanistan. So they are again cooperating and working with the Taliban. And the same time, with the other some people, of course, there are refugees. A lot of Baloch people moved in Afghanistan, and they are still. I don't have the recent information about them, but they're about their movement. But I believe they are there in Afghanistan or some point, maybe somewhere in that region. But at the same time, I'm concerned about them. I'm thinking I appeal to the international community to uh, to 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 go for take some take some action to protect those people who are refugees, and they should come to under international protection of the international community.
Hmm. As you said, you don't have much recent information about what is happening now in Afghanistan with the Baluch population, but do you know, or is there anything you can say about whether or not there has been any kind of crackdown from the Taliban since taking power on the Baluch population as there have been against other ethnic minorities within Afghanistan, or is it unknown really, the situation?
Uh, at the moment, the situation is still unclear. There are a lot of information coming out from Afghanistan that Taliban is trying to show a face of some kind of a modern state. They're trying to be recognized because they know if they go against those, they adopt against those similar rules they used before, they will be left alone and they'll be isolated completely, and they are not capable to survive. So because of that, they are trying to, show that they are, taking everybody on board, and they are not going to massacre, or they are not going to be that brutal as before. But at the moment, a lot of things, the people are moving, different areas and trying to hide out or trying to, escape in some region, in some area. At the same time, Taliban are trying to, not to push too hard because the world is focusing on the Taliban, and they are trying to avoid these things. But as soon as I believe the international, attention is moved from there, Taliban, they will keep their own, agenda, and they will try to bring all those, uh, brutality they had before. So at the moment, I have no much information about their crackdown and bringing people or punishing them. There are isolated reports you can get, but I don't have update information about these things at the moment, so I can't comment about them.
Yes, I understand. Thank you. So to transition slightly, as I mentioned before, you are the vice president of the Baloch Human Rights Council. Can you tell us a little bit about the council, the history of how it was formed, and what its aims were and the work that it does?
Sure, yes. Is we in diaspora Baloch people in Europe and in America or in different part of the world, we realize that while we are here, we can we can do some activities. We can speak out about the people who are suffering for long. So we were working before that under the Baloch community in London, and we have different organizations like Baloch Sindhi or other organizations. We were working closely with each other. But in 2008, some of our friends from around the world, they came to the suggestion to establish a human rights organization is we can work on these issues in the Western world. So we agreed to establish this Baloch Human Rights Council in 2008. Since then, we have been working, going to Geneva, going to Brussels, European Union, and trying to highlight these atrocity and disappearance and the imprisonment of Baloch people and their political activists and those human rights activists. I mean, we've been working, for this kind of advocacy to highlight these human rights violation, grave violation happening in Iran and Pakistan. Since we stopped working for a break came because of this pandemic, so all these activities were ceased for a while, but we've been working and we keep working for those issues, highlighting the human rights violation and trying to bring some attention to the world that there are people who are going through, suffering for a long time, and they are in the hand of those regime of Iran and Pakistan. So we keep working on that, these kind of issues.
Hmm. And you are additionally an active member of the Sindhi Baluch Forum, which is another such organization that works in the diaspora here. Can you say first a little bit about the historical relationship between the Sindh and Baluch peoples, and then about the Sindhi and Baluch Forum, how and why it was established, and what kind of activities that this organization does?
Well, yes, Sindhi and Baloch people, they have historical relationship. Before even Pakistan came to being, it was just a new state in the world as history. Baloch and Sindhis, they were living side by side. They have brotherly relationship for centuries and for thousands of years. So we always been close to the relationship, economic relationship, or different helping each other for the century. So these brotherly nations, since we in UK, there were some Sindhi leaders and some of our Baloch leaders. They were they were trying to work together for these oppressed nation. And some point they included Pashtun as well. So make some kind of organization they were trying. They established few organization and work together, and then after that, these organizations, of course, because of Pakistani, political setup, and they didn't work out, and then they end up this. They came up with the Sindhi and Baloch forum here. So this was established, and then we Sindhi community people live here, some of them, and Baloch, we start to work together and try to highlight those atrocity Pakistan is committing in Sindh and Balochistan, the disappearance. And I believe you have seen our work together. Recently, we've been, protesting against those, you know, atrocities, carried out by Pakistan. So, from historically, we are close nation. We are neighbor. We work together for centuries. And then, of course, when we are here, we feel that our working together would benefit both these nations while they are going through the hell these days. These days.
Absolutely. And also, as I mentioned before, you have written a book, which has recently been published, entitled The Right to Self-Determination Under International Law and Politics, The Case of the Baluch People. Can you first, to begin, give us a brief overview of the book and tell us what the aims of the book were and what inspired you to write the book when you did?
Well, I was inspired as a political activist from Balochistan. As a student, I was involved in political activities. After that, I have studied law and I became a practical lawyer. And then when I came to UK and I was settled down here, and then I did this master in human rights and social justice. And of course, it is very much politically related to the international relation and political issues and how the world works. So from there, I decided to write a book about the history of Baloch and their what kind of political environment they are going through, they have been through, and how we can they can approach the international community and how these international community system, the international system work. Uh, so for that, I have decided to write this book, and my attempt is to explain and to highlight the issue, the international politics, the international rules of or norms of the law, and the cases of some of the cases I try to to put in my book and to explain how this work and they work in the history and how this international community working as a international under the United Nations. So my attempt was just to explain these international norms and bring the Baloch struggle into this and see how the Baluch can approach the international community and how the international community can help them. So that was the reason for writing this book. Now I don't know how I've been successful for I mean, writing these issues and how they've been, you know, they can be instrumental to Baloch nation and Baloch struggle. But I did my best to do this for to understand.
Hmm. Absolutely, thank you. So next, following on from this, I would like to ask you a bit more about how you understand self-determination. So the standard definition as it operates in international law, there is often concerns the right of a people, can say, to govern themselves, specifically through an independent nation state. And I'm wondering how you, first, how you interpret this definition or the efficacy of this definition of having a people having an independent state, how much that facilitates their ability to have self-rule and self-determination in the context of the globalized world of the 21st century. And additionally, what you make of alternative approaches to self-determination that look beyond an independent state, such as the Democratic Confederalism Project of the Kurdish Freedom Movement.
Well, the right of self-determination is it was it was adopted during the after the Second World War, and the concept and the idea was that the people all around the world, they were waking up for their for their struggle to a struggle to freedom and their political freedom. So they decided, they knew the world cannot be kept under the colonial world. So they gave the many nation to go through this system of self-determination, and this way every nation would come out as a free nation. And from there, of course, there were a lot of issues of how, because the people were divided in different country, different places. They were marked the map making of the colonial powers. It made this very difficult for many nations to come with the one voice and become free nation in free areas, free country. So, but from there, it became the part of the United Nations. Is a just, I mean, is a democratic right for the people to decide their own destiny. So from there, the people would have the right. They should be given, this is a democratic right of people. They should decide whether they stay in one state in the United States, or they will break away from their state because of their own reasons they have. So this is the right protected by United Nations Charter, and it's a lot of international norms and regulation and treaties. They protect and they promote this right of people to be given this right to be free from the influence of the other nation. So to me, this is a democratic right, and this should be given to any nation in the world. And if a nation, for example, the question of today in Kurd issue, and if they have the right to break away, they should have this right. Or if they want to unite, have the, for example, if some nations, it happened to in Iraq, for example, these days, you can see after Saddam gone, I mean, the Kurdish people today have the Arbil is a second capital of Iraq today. So they came from the oppressed nation to in power today. So they came to power today. Now this is up to them. They can decide whether they want to be staying as a united with the other part of Iraq, or they want to break away. They have the opportunity to do this. It's up to them now. But the main question is this, that people should be given the right to decide their destiny and decide their future. This is to me, this is the right of self-determination, and this must be respected as a part of the international law.
Absolutely, and I wanted to pick up on, as you said, self-determination as a right, and the role that it played in shaping the post-Second World War world order, the transition away from the previous area of colonial empire.
Yeah.
There is another tendency of those who would say that colonialism or different forms of international exploitation continued in a different form after the end of formal empire. I think here of for example, Kwame Nkrumah, the former, the leader of the Ghana independence movement and the former president of Ghana, that in an analysis that he offers of a concept referred to by him and others as neocolonialism, he argues that, okay, we have achieved this independent state of Ghana now, but we are still restricted in our ability to have self-determination, to determine what we do with our own resources, because of these international economic mechanisms, coordinated especially from the United States after the Second World War through the International Monetary Fund and other organizations, and the actions of international corporations, multinational corporations, that this acted as a restriction on self-determination for formerly independent states. And I'm wondering what you make of this argument, this perspective, and how that impacts self-determination in the context of the present world.
I think this is a gray area. To be honest, it is very difficult to explain some of these, political issues that people highlighting or they are speaking about because of their own agenda or own interest. But to me, I believe in some kind of universal standard of any government or any nation or any political setup. I believe if there is no international standard of a state or a nation or a government, then it comes again to the same trouble that, for example, the Africa has been liberated 50, 60 years ago, and so the colonialism is not just, if you see it in some extent, it is not one nation just going to colonize the other. It is an internal colonial force is working these days. You can see in Africa, in Asia, in many countries that the people who are ruled by other colonial power today, a group of them you can see in Africa, or take for example, the Pakistan today. Pakistan is an internal colonial, playing a politics of internal colonialism. One nation is dominant to other nations, and they are deciding, doing everything for their own interest. So they are underlining the other nations from, they are exploiting their resources. They are not giving them any rights whatsoever. So to me, I don't know about the statement of this particular person, but to me, if there is a mismanagement, there is a corruption, or there is no, the government. So we can see today some government, they say, well, the international world is not playing a fair role because they are accepting these dictator and the dictators and the others, rogue army and rogue state and the corrupt these what do you call it, government. And the other, some of them, they are saying, well, but the international community is, forcing us to not to work on their own agenda. But this is a very difficult to say what kind of agendas those people are talking about, whether they are developing institution, they are making rules where everybody come under the rules. If we talk about the Western world, they because they knew after the Second World War and all this, they knew if they don't restrain their power as a people, I mean, there's a governing people, a group of king or empire or some kind of army, if they don't restrain their power through through legislation, through rules of law, the country will be hopeless. The country will not have any authority. The people will have authority and they will abuse it. And this is what is happening in the world. Most of the world, the people are reluctant to allow the institution to develop and make rules, and everybody they will be treated equally. So they are group of people in the form of army, religious fanatic. They are coming together and they are ruling with iron fist, and there's no institution. They are about every institution, every law. So I don't know about that particular statement, but to me, all those state and what we call a Second World War, or Third World or developing world, there are a lot of loophole and a lot of mismanagement going on there. So these people, if they speak, we have to see what really they are addressing. They are addressing, they want to reform, they want to give the power to people, they want to go through democratic process, or they are just speaking individual, some kind of group of a statement they are giving for their own benefit to prolong their power. This is a very gray area, and it's very difficult to go through these things.
Mm. I wanted to transition to the case of the Baluch people now and pick up on the topic that you mentioned of internal colonization. The Baluch people are in the situation of being both an internal colony and an international colony, in the sense of that they are internally colonized both in Pakistan and Iran, split across these two states. So I'm wondering, given this situation of the Baluch, what, in your view, does the path to self-determination for the Baluch people as a whole look like?
It's Baloch people living in the middle of three states. One, Afghanistan has been just not a stable state, been changing hand from communism to Taliban. This just became a war zone there for 40 years or so. The other state, Pakistan, was created as a client state of British Empire, created for their own interest and to keep India, uh, break India, and in some way weaken the Indian, it is the whole region in some way, and keep their client state in the middle, and to protect their interest in some way. But the irony is, back as soon as Pakistan, was created, it landed right under the boots of army, and this is the army which has never given up power to anybody. They bring some people and show the world they have a democracy, but they are holding the power with the iron fist, and they are not giving away of it all. If And this is only one institution there, and one whatever it is you call Pakistan, that's the army. There's no other institution, no judiciary, no parliament. Everything is under the shadow of the army. So in this hopeless situation, Baloch has no other option but to struggle is to for their right, for their existence, for their identity. And the same in Iran, you can see in Pakistan, this army in mullah, the religious fanatic, they keep them because they are part of their army. They use it in different occasion they need. And in Iran, this is a mullah in army. The fanatic, they are together and they are ruling their own nation, people with iron fist. In this whole hopelessness, in this whole region of turmoil, and both sides, they are ruled by these regime, and there is no accept, respect of human life or human dignity. In this case, Baloch only have the option to struggle for it to survive. So Baloch keep struggling. It has been Baloch historically. It's a well known that Baloch has been had survived against all odds throughout the history, and many part of the history, people believe they were wiped out completely. They didn't exist anymore, but they regrouped. They existed, and today they have a land which is their Balochistan. They call it. That's a huge, vast land. They have it for centuries and for thousands of years, and they will survive. They were surviving before, and they are resilient people, and they will survive. And I believe in this. I believe one day Balochistan will be up. Balochistan, a state of Baloch people. They will live in dignity and respect in their region. And for that, Baloch have their all options, all a struggle they should have. And whatever come to their, some places, they some people going to mountain, fighting for this in Pakistan and Iran as well. And some people do, involved in their local politics. But everybody is doing their best and working together to survive in some way. And at the same time, we are calling for the United Nations, for the international community to, to influence these states to give relief to Baloch people. I mean, this is what I can see. There's no other option for Baloch left there.
Mm, absolutely. Well, I share your belief and your hope for Balochistan and the Baluch people. I wanted to ask a couple of questions further about the Baluch struggle today. First, certain elements of the Baluch liberation struggle, I think specifically of the Balochistan Liberation Army, have been prescribed under anti-terrorism legislation by international governments, Europe, United Kingdom, United States. I'm wondering if you could comment a little bit about how this criminalization under war on terror legislation has affected the Baluch national struggle.
Yes, this is a sad, I mean, the situation. At some point, uh, these some states, I mean, mainly in the international community, there are some states, some government, they play their cards differently, and this happened to Baloch, those who are, involved in armed struggle. But it is just hypocrisy. It is some kind of political, agenda that in some country they play in many parts of the world. And today you can see in many countries there are, especially in Pakistan, and they there mm, army of these religious fanatics. They have organization. They banned them, and they come to with a different name and they work. But with the Baloch people, this is the, I mean, internationally protection they should be given to those people under the international rule. If they are fighting for their survival, they are fighting for their national identity, they are fighting for their language, they are fighting for their culture, for their land, for their nation. These people, how can you, consider these people as a terrorist? I mean, terrorist, this term is very big, and it's a very, if you don't like some people and some organization for some reasons, you ban them and you say they are terrorists. But if they are terrorists and really they are terrorizing the world, and they are working and there is no ban on them in many countries, it's a very sad situation. But in our international community, there are governments, they have interest, and they go up to these things to to maybe please their partner. In this case, they were trying to please Pakistani army in Pakistan in some extent to me. So they done it, but this is they know it was not the right decision. They in the same time they say, well, the Baluch should be supported. Baluch struggle. We are concerned about some point. They say they were concerned and they will fight for the international human right and internationalism. But at the same time, sometimes they act like that as well. So this is a a sad thing to happen, but we can see these things happen time to time here.
Sure, absolutely. I also
But
wanted to ask, no,
yes,
go ahead.
go ahead. Yes, sorry.
I wanted to ask if you could also say a little bit about the role of women that women are playing in Balochistan in the struggle, and in how that relates to gender relations in the region as well.
Well, the Baloch, I mean, Baloch women, first time in the history of Balochistan. Today, because of this crackdown and this, Pakistani, making the people disappear and kill and dump their body in political activists and human rights activists. Everybody is a target in Pakistan, and people are scared and people are killed. And then the only thing they came up with these women, and the group of women, they started to, of course, their brother, somebody's brother is missing, somebody's son, somebody's husband. So, and the men, they were, some people, they're politically active, they disappear. And most of the time, they were picking up these men, and there are now only on the front line, you see the women demonstration every day. It's just happening every day in Balochistan. You can see the mass of demonstration of women calling for to release their loved one. So today, and and it is somebody said well that today in Balochistan, it is a woman who is struggling for the man and trying to find their brother and sister and husband and brother. So these days, today, and woman is really on front line in Balochistan. Of course, they are, taking women and torturing or killing and dumping their body too. But this is a country which has no standards. We are dealing with a country. They have no moral standard. They have no, respect for human being. So you can expect these things. But today, Baloch women are on front line. And this is a big sign. I mean, this is a really a good sign for the all nation in Pakistan, and for the Sindhis, for the Pashtun, for the other. If they get together and they're women and men, they come together and they struggle together side by side, they will succeed in some point. And this is very important for us that our women, they are involved today in politics.
Absolutely. Very important thing. And finally, I wanted to ask, in your book, you talk about the case for humanitarian intervention from the international community and specifically the United Nations on behalf of the Baluch people, specifically against Pakistan. Can you talk a bit about the argument you make in the book, why the international community and international institutions like the United Nations have a responsibility to intervene in this situation? And also, if you could reflect maybe on why you think no such intervention has been made yet.
Yes. This is what, as I mentioned earlier, my belief of universal system for the world. I think today it has been, always the case that today I believe, and this global village or a small world today, that this during this, information revolution and everything we have today in human history, we never had such thing. And this one internationalism should be considered as a big community for the whole world. And if in this case, I believe and I think this is what the international United Nations is all about, and the international community is all about, that they should consider all those countries and nations in the world. They are part of the human being, and they have the right, same right, and you have in Europe. Why this right should not be for the other human being living in another part of the world? In that case, there are, of course, the rules, and there are United Nations, conventions. There are international rules and international norms that they promote this demand and this approach to human being, that they should be protected under international rules. Because of that, I think today, uh, because of these all rules and everything we have today, I believe there is no state which could claim completely, sovereign. Sovereignty is something that is a state. You can be sovereign, but you have to have some kind of a standard. A modern state cannot be sovereign if they don't play according to international rules and norms, and they don't play if they go against their people and slaughter them. It should not be allowed in any case, anywhere in the world. And because of that, and because of this, political approach, I believe they have a responsibility where our government is failed to meet those standards, and go against their own people and imprison them or slaughter them or exploit their resources, they should be stopped. They should be stopped, and should not be allowed to do that. Of course, in many cases, this irony of irony of our world today, in many cases where the intervention was not that immediate need, the intervention happened. We have a lot of cases like that, but in many cases, this is a wait and see how many million are slaughtered. Is this should be the standard of our world today, to wait and count, and then we can intervene? I don't think this should be the case. That is the reason, if as an international community, as a United Nations, you should be watching. You should be, the protector of those people who are suffering today. So in that case, they have a responsibility or to intervene anywhere in the world. And in Balochistan, the cases of Balochistan have been reported uh, uh, all around the world in the Amnesty International, the Asia Watch, and the Pakistani state sponsor organization, the Human Rights Commission, they reported these issues. And this is a, this is the this is a really unacceptable. This is a the atrocity, the people being killed and dumped, and young people disappear every day. It should not be accepted in any cause. So for that, I called for the international intervention, or sending some kind of team or to investigate and find out. Uh, so for that, I think they have a responsibility. Now, why it has not happened yet? Again, the same political, interest. All the United Nations is influenced by big powers in the world, and they still have some kind of interest in different in Pakistan and Iran. They are playing. Because of this, there is no other reason. Only these reasons can be, the reason of that they are not still intervening. But we keep calling for the international community to intervene and save the Baloch.
Mm. Yes, absolutely. The situation there is a historical tragedy, difficult to fathom, and it has to be stopped immediately, some means or another. Absolutely. Uh, with that, I think we unfortunately have run out of time. Of course, there's much more we could say about all of these, but Hassan, thank you so much for speaking with us. Are there any final thoughts you would like to leave us with in closing?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Connor, for having me. Just my, there's no special message. My message is the world is uh, to open your eyes and ear and put the human being, human life first, and your petty or other interests second. This should be the case for the humanity, and this should be the case for the universal led order. And Baloch is waiting for you to come and save us
Mm.
from this uh, Iranian terrible regime in Pakistani army.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure
Thank
speaking with you.